It is 7:01, whatever, so we'll go ahead and call it.
You took a little tumble.
And, I really thank everybody for showing up. It showed up because, you know, this is the best weather, the best night probably to be out. At least the wind slowed down a little bit.
Yep.
It was really blowing. So, and everybody's here but Levi, and Levi won't be back, I guess, until Thursday or so. Seven oh one. That clock's 3 o'clock. So it's-
Oh, yeah,
I bought a new battery if I'd have realized it.
okay.
So, one of the things is code of conduct, and if there's not going to be any name calling, cursing, loud screaming, hollering, threatens, all of that. If that happens, regardless of who it is, the meeting's adjourned, you might as well head for the door, because that's the end of it.
That's what I came for.
Yeah. So with that said, anyway, we do have a complaint that was filed against Ramon Reed at 704 State Street, that he removed the entrance to his house, which was just a cover, block the wind, and with the thinking of someday he may have to put a ramp in, he moved the door to the side instead of facing State Street, and he extended it out probably approximately 75 square feet, more than what the original, does that sound about right, Ramon? It's about 75 feet, so. It is non-heated, it's not livable space, it's just an entrance to the house. Whether you want to call it a mud room or just what it is. And it's dirt floor. And so with that said, then I guess Rand, you made the complaints. You want to?
Yeah, when Steve and I went by to see what he did, he said he tore the other one off and added this one bigger and said he needed a permit. And he told us that as long as Jesse James was renting his house by the night, he wouldn't get the permit.
Okay. Ramon, you want to?
Okay, sure. First, on your agenda, I'd like to make one small correction. At the end of item 1, you say owner asked for a permit, none was issued. I asked for a permit application
Yes.
and never received one.
Did you ask?
You?
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I asked you, I tried to go to your house first, but both entrances were roped off, I guess because of the horse. And this was back around the beginning of September. I don't remember the exact date. I saw you a couple days later and said I couldn't get there, I'd need an application. You said you would get me one, and never have. So I wanted to correct that. I didn't ask for a permit, I asked for an application. I'd also like to describe, I guess, a little bit of the meeting when Rand and Mayor Pinkston came by the house a couple weeks ago. And I started construction on this in the, I don't know the exact date, the second half of September. First, took me several days to tear off the old porch because I had that sucker nailed together pretty well before I started building anything. But basically, I worked on this for 2 months in plain view of State Street. Never was trying to hide anything, and I assumed that I would hear from the building inspector. Never did until it was actually I was working on the very last thing I had to do on the exterior when they came by, which was cover the Tyvek just to have it ready for winter. And they came by. Steve started talking to me about where they had been over to inspect some sewer system. I didn't know why. And then he asked, and I'll say right up front, Rand was with Steve, but Rand never said a word to me, nothing. Steve did all the talking. Then Steve said that this looked more than just a remodel of my porch. It was an expansion, and yes, it is, as you explained, and that I needed a building permit. I stated that it wasn't clear to me that the town was enforcing its ordinances, because about the time I started on this is when the town at an executive session without any public in attendance, apparently made a decision not to pursue any legal action against my neighbor. That, you know, this has been progressing since the zoning board discussed it last July. And my assumption is maybe that's kind of the reason that Rand never brought me a building permit application, is the town is really seemed to be in kind of limbo on whether they're enforcing their ordinances or not. And they have neglected, I think, you know, I assume on purpose, to say a single word about it at a public meeting, that there have been 2 of them since September. So I went ahead and built this, waiting to see what I'd hear. And certainly it didn't surprise me when Rand came by. I was a little surprised the mayor was there. So I asked, you know, what's the difference between what I'm doing, that you think I need to follow the ordinance and get a building permit, and what my neighbor up the street is doing, which is also not in compliance with any ordinance. In fact, it's in violation that I'm aware of at least 2 ordinances of the town, and the town isn't enforcing it. And the response, again from the mayor, not from the building inspector, was, well, I guess the difference is you're on the zoning board. That's kind of a surprising answer. And, okay, if you're on the zoning board, you have to follow the regulations. If you're not, you don't. So I told him, okay, that's easy, I quit. And I did. So, the mayor indicated that this would be discussed at the next meeting. This was a couple days or so before the last town board meeting. And since there are a couple members, 3 members here of the town board, you know, that it wasn't discussed, wasn't brought up. So that's all I know about it. One of the things that I will point out in the complaint that Rand submitted says that I have refused to get a building permit. That's, I believe, the last sentence. I don't have it here. I have not refused to get a building permit. I didn't refuse when they came by. I asked them questions about why the ordinance isn't being enforced against my neighbor, and told you what the response was, and they turned around basically and left. I have no quarrel with the zoning ordinance at all. I'm perfectly willing to comply if the town is going to enforce its ordinances, which I hope they are. But at this point, I would request that the zoning board follow the zoning ordinance. There are 2 sections actually that you can follow either one, I think. Section 18, which talks about the zoning enforcement official and writing a letter if you choose to do that, and giving me 15 days to comply, or it goes to the town board. Or Section 23, which is specifically about complaints, which is the letter that Rand has submitted to call this meeting. And in that section, you know, it's the determination of this board whether to refer the matter to the Board of Trustees, and I hope you will do that. Either way, I would like this to go to the Board of Trustees, because I would like an answer. Is the Board of Trustees going to enforce the zoning ordinance, the septic system ordinance, every other ordinance, or not? Are they going to do selective enforcement that some of us have to follow, especially if it involves money to the town? Is that the key? Or, you know, I don't believe that selective enforcement is legal, but I'd like to hear that from the board. So I hope that you will, under either of those sections of the zoning ordinance, refer this to the town board, so that I and the rest of the town can hear what the position of the Board of Trustees is. It's one of the reasons that I don't regret leaving the zoning board, because I don't want to serve on any board that relies on a town ordinance that's not going to be enforced.
Thank you. Does any of the board have a question, comment, or talk to the board?
Well, this isn't the first time this has happened.
You mean in the town?
In the town.
In the town, right.
Yes,
And it's not the first time.
because you and I went over and looked at the other one.
Yes.
Exact same thing. Entrance to the building,
Yes.
being redone, got bigger than what was there.
And it had a problem with a setback.
It had a problem with the setback.
And this
too.
one doesn't have a
This one
setback.
doesn't have that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
we required a permit for that. I think we require a permit for remote. And, you know, I think this particular issue, specifically his addition, can be fixed by just getting a permit. Now, whether he wants to take this all the way to the trustees, I haven't got a letter from the trustees that says we don't enforce zoning anymore.
No.
No?
I haven't seen it in writing that we don't enforce ordinances.
Yeah.
Whether anybody else has. We can look at some, I guess, what's happened,
Yeah.
but, and there's one thing, this board does have the authority to make exceptions and, you know, if it's necessary, you know, we don't have to follow the exact word by word of the book. It also says in there that we can, as long as we're within doing what's right and what's reasonable. And so, if there isn't anyone in the audience now have a,
Can the building inspector just give Ramon the permit application now?
well, yes, he could.
Okay.
Yes. Is anyone else? Yes? Ruth?
Well, just broadly speaking, there's really no justification if your neighbor commits an infraction that doesn't mean that it's okay for another neighbor to commit an infraction, or it's no more reasonable to say it's okay for me to go rob a bank because the guy across the street did. I just recently got a permit to put up a temporary structure, and I came and requested it, and I got the form off online, and initially had a meeting here, and it's not even related to short-term rentals. It's not related to what the Garrettsons are doing. It's related to me being a resident of this town and doing what I know is right, regardless of whether my neighbor is doing something wrong.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
Okay, I would just like to answer Ramon's question. I thought I had covered this in a town meeting that, with the people that you are talking about, without mentioning names. Yes, we did bring a suit against those people, and the way the judge handled it, it didn't, I don't understand all the legal terms, but we had an executive session and decided that it would be better if we rewrote the ordinance so that it says in specific language, you can't do this, instead of words like incidental to the residential use, that we didn't want that lawyer lingo. We wanted it spelled out. Those people will have their day in court, I promise you that. But government sometimes moves slow. And we had a meeting and we decided better to do it right than to go off with this legal hodgepodge. The zoning ordinance was written by well-meaning citizens, but just well-meaning citizens. And it needs to be written by somebody with a legal background that can get all the words right. But like I said, those people will have their day in court, and we want to make it as effective as we can. That's pretty much it.
Sure, that's we're a small group, just
Yes.
ask.
Have you started on the rewrite
Yes, we have.
of the zone?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yes, we are pushing it through. We're trying to push it through as fast as we can. But if you remember what it said, people that came to some of the zoning meetings said, I've read this thing 10 times and I don't see where it says you can't do it.
I understand.
And you could read right over it. So we want to change it so anybody can pick it up and read it. That's the idea.
Well, okay, yeah, we're not here to discuss that.
Well, yeah, but I was just
But-
answering his
Yeah, I
question.
know, but, you know, because the people that wrote this are sitting right here. And, you know, I've heard things and people that, you know, well, I don't understand it and this is that, and it wasn't written in a legalistic
Mhm.
frame. It was written so that people could understand it and interpret it. And then again, it's this board's responsibility to interpret it if there is a question. But like I said, we're not gonna get into that
No.
now. But, any other comments? Dave, you've been thinking, I can tell that.
I think if he's willing to get a permit, we give him the application, do the 15 days. That's- to let him comply with the application.
Well,
I don't know that we have to do the 15 days if we just hand him a permit and he wants, or a permit app and he wants to fill it out.
yeah. So I guess the question is, as Ramon has said, he would prefer that he not comply and that it go to the town board for the next step. That's kind of what,
Then I make a motion that we send him a written letter for compliance.
okay.
So that can be kicked up to the town board.
Well, I like this real simple. Can I ask Ramon a question?
Sure.
You want to fill out a permit?
And that,
You know, I'll tell you that I fully intend to get a permit at some point, but I'm not prepared right now to say, you know, I'll sit here and fill it out. But I'll tell you what, and maybe the mayor would be willing to do this. I will fill out a permit and pay the permit fee as soon as the building inspector gets me one. If Mayor Pinkston will tell me that he will put this issue on the agenda for the next town board meeting, because what you just told us, you have not said publicly at a town meeting. And I want to hear this from the board of trustees. I mean, excuse me, but you do not have authority in this town on everything that goes on. It's the board of trustees that does. And there have been, I mean, even what you just said, you talked about, you used the words "they decided," referring to the board,
That is correct.
to not pursue the legal action.
That is correct.
That it is illegal for the board of trustees to make a decision in executive session. Are you aware of that?
We did not vote on anything.
I didn't say vote, did I? I said it is illegal for the Board of Trustees to make a decision in executive session. You just told me we decided, referring to the board at a meeting that was an executive session.
What does this have to do with what's on the agenda?
well,
It doesn't.
it doesn't.
Well,
But I'm trying to answer your question.
Yeah, I know. Do you want to make a deal? I'm not here to make a deal, Ramon.
No, I don't want to make a deal. I want to know that the ordinances of the town of Pitkin are being enforced or not.
I've just got, I guess, one other question. What is the town board supposed to do? What do you want us to do? I mean, you want this on the agenda of the next meeting. What are we supposed to do? We just
Answer my questions. Are you going to enforce the ordinances of the town of Pitkin across the board or selectively or not? Because that's what I'm seeing today is selective enforcement. I'm being asked to comply with the ordinance of one section. My neighbor has not, and more than one ordinance. You have a problem with language, I'm sorry, you know, I don't have a problem. Your town attorney has met with this board at least 3 times, maybe 4 in the past few months, and never expressed a problem with the language. And this board actually did, at the request of the town, amend the language. But it's still not good enough, apparently. So, and the same goes for the septic ordinance. That's not being enforced. Is it selective or everyone? That's the answer that I want, and I don't, the zoning board can't answer that. The zoning board operates under,
Absolutely correct in that statement.
yes. And that's, I don't expect an answer from this board. That's why I told you, as far as I'm concerned, I hope you will follow the ordinance and refer this to the town board of trustees so that maybe we can get an answer in public.
Yeah, just a minute. Go ahead.
Has
Lisa.
anybody in town, not obtained a building permit for anything before?
Oh, yeah, it's happened
Yeah.
over and over and over. They built whole houses and didn't have a permit.
Are you kidding me or are you joking?
No.
I'm not joking at all. I'm just saying past history.
So before, okay,
Okay.
Yeah, so, but that
are you talking about like 1840 or like
No,
2010?
I'm talking close to present, you know, it's happened. But anyway, a lot of additions, a lot of remodels that should have had permits that didn't. But that, you know, our point is right now is basically, it's this one.
I want to comment about this.
Well, yeah.
The last time it happened, we didn't require these items.
I was gonna say, this is after the fact.
Yeah.
after the fact,
We can physically go look at it.
this board has the authority to say, yeah, I have looked at it.
I don't know square footage without having a floor plan.
Go out there with a tape
Yeah,
and measure. Okay?
yeah, that's
He
not,
just built, he tore off the front addition, redid the door, it got a little bigger. This other example did the same thing, but we didn't make the onerous requirements that you got on the back there. Now, if he'd have come ahead of time, we'd have to have that because we don't have the physical structure to inspect. Now we got a real thing to inspect, and it's a correction after the fact.
and it doesn't even need an inspection.
We just need the permit and the money.
It doesn't, because it's under,
So-
under
About
$120. It's under
The addition.
120, so it doesn't. need-
Oh, no. I'm just saying that the process of the framing instruction, the footers, I mean, it's done. You can say it's finished, it probably isn't completely finished, like a lot of things, you know. My house still needs some
The
trim.
structure exists.
You get to go look at it to determine all that.
We are not allowed to do that. in the
That
county.
saves a lot of time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, and any of the members, like I said, I've been there.
we didn't, okay, it's an example. That roof at Susie Metzler's, a long time ago,
Woodshed roof?
yeah, we didn't require all that stuff. It was an after the fact, okay? All right? Just confirm it. It wasn't on its mistake,
We throw
That's what
ourselves.
we're clarifying the
okay?
building setbacks and foundation.
Yes.
Okay. So we started to have a motion.
I made a motion.
Well,
Well, it did.
we
The man
can,
wants to go to the
Obviously,
town.
obviously, he wants to go to town, so we changed the motion from giving him 15 days just to recommend to the board of trustees that they take action for the violation. Section 2. Because you've already said you'd rather go straight to the town and do an answer. If we wait 15 days, it takes another month.
takes another month.
Yeah, they'd have to wait till January before it was
Well,
closed.
if he's got 15 days, then we can't do anything at the next town meeting. It's within 15
Well,
days.
If we
that's
give
if
him
we go that
15.
route.
Well, but
That's
I gotta do it legally.
The question
There's
is,
two-
There's two different ways.
yeah, there's a couple of ways you can do this. Ramon can agree to get a permit and an application, fill it out, and then we're gonna have to decide here then what category of the building that this little addition, this bump out would apply to. You know, was a remodel of the existing, like I said, it's unheated, it's not an accessory building as such, but it's not a full part of the living quarters of the house. So you need to determine, you know, is that a $25.10 a square foot, or is it, you know, the $50 and, I mean, whatever category. And like I said, this board has the authority to say there's no fee. You know, you can waive all charges if we agree, but that isn't, you know, I don't think you want to do that. And then the next thing is, which is not part of this process, is if the mayor, you know, he does the agenda, he can put whatever, if a citizen requests that something be on that agenda, he can put it on there, even if it's ridiculous, you know, he can put it on there, and
I've done
then,
that.
and then the board, the trustees can
Yeah.
say, oh, this is dumb, we don't want to do that, yes, we're doing what we can, or, I mean, you know, and like you said, there's 4 trustees in here right now.
3.
Yes,
Oh,
So are you saying the zoning board cannot act on this tonight?
no, we
Will
can't act
not?
on it, we are
We're
going to
gonna
act on it.
act on it.
Right now, we're gonna act
Oh,
on
okay.
it. Now, but the
Okay.
process that we're gonna take, the action that we're gonna take.
I like the $25.10 a square foot.
That's within existing space, and yes.
And others.
Within
Another.
remodel within existing space. It's is an addition,
Well,
which,
a component of
this book doesn't even say
Right.
pay schedule, fee schedule, but this doesn't have.
I think this would fall under the $25.10 a square.
it. I think that's what we did on the other.
That's what we did, that we don't mention yet.
Yeah, because like I said, it doesn't even require an inspection.
No.
Whatever you want me to do.
I mean, that's $25 plus what? $7.50?
Yeah, and $7.50. And it costs $6.75 to send a certified letter.
Yeah.
On Susie's, we had to pay a $300 fine.
Yeah.
That should be, but that was a separate, yeah, I mean, you can
Separate
use
deal.
it.
So what's a motion?
How many days are we gonna wait?
Ramon, how long to pay the fine, or not to pay the fine, to fill out the application, and then, how many time frame do you need? And are you willing to do that at this point?
I said, no, I'm not willing to do it at this point. I would prefer that you refer the matter to the Board of Trustees. At that point, I would probably have it completed, but
Okay.
I don't, I'm tired of nothing being done.
All right.
That's
Okay.
Can I?
my answer.
Go ahead.
It would be possible, and I'm not speaking for any board member, this is, that you could end up with a fine on this also, and not a $32.
That's possible.
I'm just,
I just think you know that I'm as aware of the
I do know that.
zoning
That's it.
ordinance as
Right.
anybody. And I know what it is, what I'm doing. And, I just feel it's time that things be done.
Finish your motion.
But if I put on the agenda that we're gonna talk about your buildings, we're not gonna get off the subject on to anything else. We're just gonna talk about your building. We're not gonna get into what other neighbors, we're not gonna get into that. We're just gonna talk about your building.
So this is a town board of one that you're talking about?
I do the agenda.
You do the agenda, yeah. But you can tell the board, oh, you can't talk about anything but what I say. Is that,
I can bang the
That the
gavel and
mayor's
say,
job?
we gotta get back on the subject.
you do what you like, Steve. I've expressed my
Yeah.
opinion.
Okay,
Well,
let's
so
resolve
then we're
this.
back to the first.
okay. You want to continue with your motion?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
first one to write a letter.
Write a letter.
I make a motion that we write a letter.
And
For
refer it,
non-compliance.
and refer it to the town board.
Well, that's two different things.
Well,
He has 15 days then
to
to
respond.
respond,
Respond.
which is gonna put him out.
Or he can respond earlier than 15 days.
Yeah,
Yes.
right,
So then under section 19.
right.
Notification of alleged violations.
Page 18.
I'll read it. Section 19, notification of an alleged violation. Whenever the zoning enforcement official determines that there's been a violation of this code, he shall notify the person responsible for the violation or alleged violation in writing by certified mail with return receipt, and shall order that the necessary corrections be made within 15 days. Copies of this notification shall be forwarded to the town attorney and the board of trustees. If the violation is not corrected or a plan approved to effect corrections within a specified time after notification, the board of trustees shall notify the town attorney to proceed with whatever legal action is deemed appropriate and available. So in order for the town trustees to notify the attorney, it needs to be on an agenda.
Okay. So, okay, just discuss this. We can make a motion to write the letter. If he responds immediately, I think I know how he's gonna respond, immediately upon receipt of that, you hand it to the mayor and give it to the trustees.
Right.
Motion to write a letter.
We write a letter.
Okay. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right.
I feel that's what he wants. That's what I'm,
And,
That,
and we can,
well, I would recommend that you look at section 23 as well, because I think it's simpler. And maybe save you the $6.75.
refer to trustees.
I think we just write a letter.
Just.
And plain ordinary letter,
Since everybody's here.
informing you need a permit and a payment of $32.50.
Yeah, 23 does. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because 23 is a written.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any other discussion?
Can we amend the motion to tell him the
We can,
amount he has
you
to be paid?
You can amend the, yes, you can
Yes.
amend the motion.
I want to amend the motion to add he owes $32.50 for the permit.
Okay. So there's a motion to amend the main motion to include the cost of the permit, which is $32.50. Do I have a second on that motion? Have a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to add the cost of the permit. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. So the motion, the amendment carries. So now the main motion is that we send a letter. I don't know how it was all worded. We send a letter advising, how do you want to, let's go ahead and do the motion and add the 30. That's not,
Okay.
if you've got it down in writing.
Okay.
It'll read it.
Can you write this out?
Yeah. If we follow 23, Ramon, then you need to write a letter.
I need to write a letter?
Yeah. Any person aggrieved by a violation or apparent violation of the provisions of this code may file a written complaint with the Board of Zoning Adjustments.
That's what Rand has done. I'm talking, read the end of that, is what action the board can
And
take.
the board would investigate
Yeah, what you've just done.
without delay and may recommend to the Board of Trustees to take action.
That's
That's
what I'm talking about, that doesn't require you to send a certified
right.
letter,
Okay.
but you can do whichever you
Well,
want.
yeah.
About done.
Don't hurry.
Okay. Okay, here's our, tidy this up, here's our
Okay.
motion. The board will write a letter to Ramon Reed that his building entrance modification needs a permit, and that the fee for the permit is $25 plus $7.50, for a total of $32.50.
Okay. And then he has 15 days to reply.
Oh, well, that's,
That's it, right?
that's in the book,
Yeah, or he could reply earlier.
or he could reply early.
Okay.
He knows it.
Yeah, everybody knows. Okay, now, the main motion then is just read.
Yes.
We'll send a letter to Ramon and advising him that he needs to obtain a permit or complete the application for a permit and submit $32.50. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, now, if you, that's the action, item 2, that's the action regarding the complaint. Item 3 is to elect a new zoning board of adjustment chairperson. And, you know, I guess we have functioned without a chairman. You know, right now, there's 4 of us, 5 total, but, I'm not gonna be chairman anymore. You know, and most people that make chairman, when they step down from chairman, they just go off the board. You know, when you think back to Matt Buchanan, Truett, Barr,
What are you saying?
you know, I'm saying that I'm not gonna be chairman anymore.
Are you stepping down?
No, I'm stepping down from chairmanship,
Uh,
but not off the board, unless, you know, I serve on the board at the privilege of the Board of Trustees, so, you know, they can ask me to get off the board. But at this point in time, I'm not going to be chairman anymore. And Brad didn't want to do it before. Steve,
Well,
Phil's been the building inspector. So,
And I don't want to do it, but it's kind of.
well, like I said, we can meet and have, we don't have to have a chairman.
See if Levi will do it.
But,
you can leave like a thumb.
Yeah,
I'm not mad because he's a big guy.
and
You might take my thumbs.
and we don't have to make a decision now on that.
don't we at the beginning of the year have to?
Well,
By-
May the 1st,
Is it
no,
May?
April the 30th. April the 30th is when this term expires and you elect a new chairman.
Yes.
So you're like Kobe Bryant, you just want to retire.
Well, I'm going to retire. I've had it up to here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you were tired of phone calls and, you know, you didn't wait. You quit.
No.
But
I
you wanted to
understand.
be on the board, yeah. It's very understandable. First place, you know, and I'll tell you, I don't mind telling you, the first place, the chairman of the board is supposed to be the enforcement officer now. And you send out all these certified letters and, you know, I did all of that and like I was asked to do and I didn't, you know, you get some phone calls, and talk to and all that. But anyway, that's where we're at.
All for serving
So
Why don't we take this under advisement?
that's fine.
Okay? And see if we have another zoning meeting before April 30th.
Well, that's, we probably will. But yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm just telling you that, I mean, don't be calling me if,
That's not a motion, we'll just,
yeah, we'll just do it. If you want me to send a letter, I'll send a letter to the mayor. You know?
you don't have to send that.
Okay,
We've written enough letters.
yeah, I think so too. And we'll take care of this.
Yeah.
You be, we'll
I'll write the minutes.
Yeah.
You write the
write the
letter.
letter, yeah. Yeah. Okay, any other comments?
So in the interim, since you're stepping down as chair, if there's a concern, who does that concern go to?
It
Any
can go-
board member.
Any board member.
Any board member?
Right, which is the way it says now anyway in the zoning code. That the building inspector, any trustee, any board member, a citizen can call a meeting of this board. It just needs to be in written form so that we can proceed. So, yeah. So that's why I said, we can function, you know, the 5 of us, we can function without a chair.
Yeah.
You know, we can, because we're just interchanging anyway, in a small group. Now, if we get, you know, 45 people in the audience and then, you know, things can get out of hand, but otherwise. Chris?
So you said a minute ago, zoning enforcement official is the chairperson, or vice versa. So if you step down, we don't have a chairperson, who becomes zoning enforcement official?
Any board member.
Any board member or the
Including
building
Levi.
inspector. The building
Including
inspector
Levi.
has been the zoning enforcer for the town, but somehow that got shifted to the chair. The attorney shifted it, if you really want.
Yeah.
Anyway, meeting adjourned. We'll call it 7:46.